Well, hello there, hello, and welcome everybody to another relationship-themed video from The Incredible, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy here on Guru Grit. As it is February, it's like the month of love, so I thought we'd go over some more relationship things. So of course I did two videos, one on attract the ideal wife, the other attract the ideal husband. So now let's do for people who are already in relationships, and what if they're not exactly happy? So this is going to be my all about divorce video according to the book Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy. It's a beautiful cover. They just don't make cool book covers like they used to. I think it's so awesome. And this is actually from 1982, so very good condition, all things considered. I just love it. So let's begin with what he mentions about marital problems. Of course, there's things like negative patterns and wanting to attract a good person. And the first thing about attracting a good person is to know why you want what you want. But now let's say you attracted someone without being really clear about that, and you find yourself in a rather unhappy scenario. So what does he have to say about divorce? Well, the first thing he says about divorce, and I'm so happy when teachings align, it aligns with Edgar Cayce, who I was doing quite recently and I will continue to do for Sex and the Spiritual Path. He says, you know, it's not right for everyone. It's not wrong for everyone either. Just like marriage, like not everyone's meant to be married. They didn't really want that in this lifetime. Maybe they see other people doing it and they desire it, but it's not actually what they really wanted in their soul. And same with divorce. Sometimes, so according to him, you know, sometimes people get married, they don't really need to be divorced. They can remedy their problems very easily. Other times, he also states, you should get a divorce. You shouldn't stay married just because society makes you feel that kind of pressure. So he says, you know, he gives the example of a woman who came to him whose husband was, should I quote it? Because it was quite a read. Here we go. For example, I once talked with a woman whose husband was a dope fiend, haven't heard that in a while, a dope fiend, an ex-convict, a wife beater, and a non-provider. She had been told it was wrong to get a divorce. I explained to her that marriage is of the heart. If two hearts blend harmoniously, lovingly, and sincerely, that is the ideal marriage. The pure action of the heart is love. So here he says you shouldn't feel appalled with yourself or intimidated and beaten because someone had once said, I pronounce you man and wife. So of course, I mean, we could use a less extreme example and say sometimes people just think, well, what else is out there? Or being single was really hard. But you know, it's really like a lot harder is being single again. You know, try being single again. Doing it the second time around is probably harder, or they think I'm in my 40s, I don't want to start again. I'm in my 50s, I don't want to start again. What's the dating pool like, and so forth. But he says, well, don't look at what other people think of you. Don't look at what other people say. You have to search your heart. If in your heart you feel that person isn't flowing love to you and you find it hard to be near them and so forth, then your hearts are not blending. So perhaps divorce is the right path for such people. The other section is called drifting into divorce, and I really love these choice of words because I feel that so much of the time people, I mean, just drift through certain areas of life without really being aware of it. So if you're interested, you know, the amazing Napoleon Hill, who wrote Think and Grow Rich, he has an incredible book called Conversations with the Devil, and he explains how these, like, his fictional conversation with this devil, like the devil, is what he does to distract people. So he'll put up distractions, he'll make you lazy, he'll give you cravings that you just kind of cave into, and then basically one day you wake up and you think, oh my God, I've not done anything with my life, I haven't chased my dreams, I haven't built this or accomplished that, and it's because you're just perpetually distracted in small doses. You're always living for short-term gain. So basically in this section he says you can just drift into divorce. You can just kind of wake up one day and realize, oh my God, how did we get here? And basically he says, recently a young couple only married a few months are seeking a divorce. I discovered that the man was in constant fear that his wife would leave him. So this person is slowly projecting fear. It's like just like drip feeding their spouse doses of insecurity, and then one day this woman wakes up and she's like, you're insufferable and I can't stand you, and he goes, I knew it, I knew you would leave me. And it's like, it's because you always thought that. But we can do it to each other. Our insecurities can be the thing that causes us to drift through life because it's fear-based. So he says His mental attitude was one of separation and suspicion. She felt unresponsive to him. It was his own feeling or atmosphere of loss and separation operating through them. This brought about a condition or action in accordance with the mental pattern behind it. His wife left home and asked for divorce, which is what he feared and believed she would do. So just be mindful. If you believe someone's going to be unfaithful, if you believe someone's going to let you down, that's probably going to be the case. Now, I have to differentiate here. It's not stated here, but people say, oh, I don't like negativity, I don't like fear-mongering. Well, there are times in critical situations where you have a natural fear response or a gut impulse towards something which is actually trying to keep you safe. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about, I just had a weird feeling my spouse was acting weird when they got back from the business trip. Maybe something's up. Maybe something is up. I'm not talking about, your reflexes when you're driving. It's good to have a fear senses then because you want to make sure that you arrive to where you're going safe. I mean, this constant mental pattern is lazy. This is a mark of laziness, and it's actually very arrogant, because when you're really, really insecure or really, really shy, you think that everyone is made the same except you. Somewhere along the line, the heavens made a mistake when they made you, and it's kind of like why people find that so repulsive, or they say misery loves company. The only other people who can stand to be in your vicinity are the people who think like you and feel the way that you do. So if you're sort of afraid all the time, you cannot attract a secure person and hope to hold on to them. They will leave you, or they will become like you, and then you will fear who's going to leave the other one first, so then you might leave them as well. So here he states divorce begins in the mind, as we just said, mental patterns, all this kind of thinking, etc. So divorce takes place in the mind first. The legal proceedings follow after. Two young people were resentful, suspicious, and fearful, and full of anger. These attitudes weaken, exhaust, and debilitate the whole being. They learned that hate divides and that love unites. They began to realize what they had been doing with their minds. Neither one of them knew the law of mental action, and they were misusing their minds. So this is important because, as we covered in the Edgar Cayce videos on sex and the spiritual path, there's no such thing as sin, but the closest thing that you will come to it is misuse of creative energy. And this includes mental and emotional energy as well, because you create with your thought, you amplify with your feeling. So if you're constantly thinking that your partner is good for nothing, or that they're going to deceive you and leave you, that's pretty much what's going to happen. So turn it around. And if that person doesn't really switch you on and light you up, then you've got to ask yourself some questions, basically. But here we go. They went back together at my suggestion and experimented with prayer therapy. They began to radiate love, peace, and goodwill to each other. Needless to say, this union was spared. Then we've got one on the nagging wife and the brooding husband. So in terms of the nagging wife, many times the reason the wife nags is because she gets no attention. Oftentimes it is a craving for love and affection. Give your wife attention and show your appreciation to her. Praise and exalt all her many good points. There is also the nagging type of woman who wants to make the man conform to her particular pattern. This is about the quickest way in the world to get rid of a man. The wife and the husband must cease being scavengers, always looking at the petty faults or errors of each other. Let each give attention and praise for the constructive and wonderful qualities in the other. So once again, if you amplify negative things, you get negative things. And he does state that the root of this is going to be that the man, in this sense, he used man as the example, is the one who withdraws first, and then in order to get his attention, the woman's like, you don't buy me flowers anymore. You said you would call before you went to bed. You don't do that anymore. You said if we moved in together, you would make me coffee every morning, and you don't. And then he's like, why are you nagging me? And she's like, why are you a liar? So it's like, it's hard because you have to say, okay, I'm going to try fixing it in my mind, and then I'll see the results on the outside. And if you can't do that, then you've got to make peace with where you are, because if you leave that relationship in that state, the next one you attract will probably follow suit. So you always have to remember that mind is the builder, and you have to discipline your thought structure. Next section is the brooding husband. If a man begins to, this was actually very interesting to me, because I feel as a woman, it's something all women have known since before they were in their teenage years, and now we finally have it as written proof. If a man begins to brood, grows morbid against his wife because of the things she said or did, he is, psychologically speaking, committing adultery. How does that make sense? Well, let's check it out what Dr. Murphy says. One of the meanings of adultery is idolatry, i.e., giving attention to or uniting mentally with that which is negative and destructive. So once again, just as Edgar Cayce says, it's the misuse of creative energy. So when a man is moody and sulky and just sort of melancholy and not breathing life into his relationship, not leading that relationship, according to Dr. Murphy, he says, well, that's very deceitful because you're in a relationship, but you're not acting like you want to be in a relationship. You also entered into a relationship not wanting to be in a relationship. So this is energetically deceitful. It's basically dishonest. And so he says, if you really break it down, he is not faithful to his marriage vows, which are to love, cherish, and honor her all the days of her life. When a man is silently resenting his wife and is full of hostility towards her, he is unfaithful. Period. The man who is brooding, bitter, and resentful can swallow his sharp remarks, abate his anger, and can go to great lengths to be considerate, kind, and courteous. He can deftly skirt the differences. Through praise and mental effort, he can get out of the habit of antagonism. Then he will be able to get along better, not only with his wife, but with business associates also. Assume the harmonious state, and eventually you will find peace and harmony. So what is the common thread between all of these examples? Is everything starts in the mind. When you start to discipline yourself, when you start to change the way you think about XYZ, it will reflect differently and respond differently to you. So this is quite important to take note of, because he never said, you should, make some grand gesture. It's like your partner doesn't want that. They want someone normal to come home to every day who makes them feel loved. You have to make a safe space, okay? Your presence have to be a place of safety. And you should also communicate very, very clearly, and honestly. So if this man is always, let's use the word grumpy or a bit of a curmudgeon, he can say to his wife, I'm sorry for my previous mood. I notice now what I've been doing. I'm going to change that. If the wife in the previous example was to say, you know what, I'm acting this way because I realize I'm not fulfilled. And hey, let's talk about it. Let's try it out. If I'm still not fulfilled at the end of the year, I'm going to dip, So it's interesting how it's so empowering knowing that you can take that power, take the situation into your hands. But wait. There's more. Okay, here we go. He says the great mistake of a marital problem. Okay, here we go. Don't try to make your wife over. Now this I speak from the heart, because I had someone do this to me. Try to make me just like them, have opinions just like them, be just like them, but also serve them in every imaginable way, which means I would just be, as my friend put it once, she said about herself, she's like, I'm a husk of a person. I don't know who I am anymore. Like just a shell, you just become like a husk or like a prop in someone's life. Never do this. You will be left. I sure left. I thought, what's the point of you if I can't be my full self? So in his relationship affirmations that I've given previously, he says, he doesn't try to make me over. I don't try to make him over. You take the person as you find them. If you don't like something at the beginning, cut them loose. It will only amplify 10 years from now. So a husband must not try to make his wife over into a second edition of himself. The tactless attempt to change her in many ways is foreign to her nature. These attempts are always foolish and many times result in a dissolution of marriage. These attempts to alter her destroy her pride and self-esteem and arouse a spirit of contrariness and resentment that proves fatal to the marriage bond. So in essence, anytime you try to make someone like you so that you could get along with them better, they lose a part of who they are in themselves, and then you can't get along with them because they're not who they're wanting to be. So maybe for a little while they'll adopt some habits, like let's say your hobby is to, golf on Sundays, and they go along with it to make you happy. But then they're realizing you're not liking their hobbies. Maybe they're a bookworm. You don't read with them at the end of the night. So they're not getting anything out of that deal. So you've turned them into a golfing buddy. They don't want to be your golfing buddy, or they didn't want to be your library partner or whatever. They want to be themselves. It has to go both ways. If you're going to do something to accommodate one, you have to accommodate the other. You can't mold somebody into being something that's just not in their nature, okay? So adjustments are needed. As I just said, adjustments are needed, of course, but if you have a good look inside your own mind and study your character and behavior, you will find so many shortcomings. They will keep you busy for the rest of your life. If you say, I will make him over into what I want, you are looking for trouble in the divorce court. You are asking for misery. You will have to learn the hard way that there is no one to change but yourself. Okay, so now he gives the remedy. Pray together and stay together through steps in prayer. The first step is never carry over from one day to another accumulated irritations. Okay, this is quite interesting because they always say never go to bed angry. And so be sure to forgive each other for any sharpness before you retire at night. Secondly, say grace at breakfast. Give thanks for the wonderful food, for your abundance, for all your blessings. Make sure that you have no problems. Say to your wife or husband, I appreciate all you are doing and I radiate love and goodwill to you all day long. I find these really important because they're effectively rituals. So if you're choosing to be conscious of going to bed in a bad mood, then you also have to understand, kind of like how you shower at nighttime so that you can wake up with a clean body in the morning. At night, if you fall asleep in a bad mood, you wake up with that filthy spirit, okay, that mentality, that energy. You just wake up in the same mood. It just comes crashing down on you. If you make the effort to go to sleep, and even if you say, we're too tired to resolve this right now, so let's just hit pause. We'll feel better after a night's sleep and on a full stomach. We'll talk about it tomorrow at lunch. At least there's something there to give you some relief for the night. Okay, and then in the morning, again, it's some type of ritual, whether you share coffee or a text or you warm up someone's car, scrape the ice and the snow off the windshield, pack a lunch, wave at them, whatever it is. Okay, if you have conflicting schedules, like I said, it's a text. It's the tiny little minutia that adds up to make a marriage really pleasant or can eventually avalanche and cause bigger problems. So the third step, the husband and wife should alternate in praying each night. Do not take your marriage partner for granted. Show your love and appreciation. So he gives some verses if you're interested in the Bible. He was obviously a theologian, so I can read. He says, read the 23rd, 27th, and 91st Psalms, the 11th chapter of Hebrews, the 13th chapter of 1 Corinthians, and other great texts of the Bible before going to sleep. If you practice these truths, your marriage will grow more and more blessed through the years. So he says the way to build a peaceful home and marriage is to use foundation of love, beauty, harmony, mutual respect, and faith in all good things. So if you're not religious, you can just do some kind of ritual where you just speak to each other. You just say, thank you for this thing today. Like, to me, the most important thing in a relationship is pillow talk. At the end of the night, you unwind and you speak to each other. You just say, you know what, we're tired, we're vulnerable, but I really appreciate you doing that. I'm glad you helped me and you cleared that up. I'm glad you handled the insurance company on the phone. You know how stressed I get when I think about our basement being flooded. And thank you for this, thank you for that. Thank you for remembering my mother's birthday or my sister's whatever, baby shower. You know, you just thank each other. You just thank each other for whatever you can possibly think of, okay? So as you practice these, it should improve. So basically, if we take the idea of prayer, it's to focus on something. So a couple that prays together, stays together, is basically you're flowing your mental energy together towards a common goal. So if you're not literally like praying, as he's using the example, you can just pick something that you're both thankful for. Maybe you're thankful for improvement in one's fertility or your partner's health or your financial health or your parents' health, you know, whatever you can think of. If you had a really good meal, just thank them, you know, whatever, if you bought the ingredients together, if they gave you the idea. So you just have to build yourselves up mentally. And when you do that, the emotion follows. So first comes the thought, then the emotion and manifestation. And in that sense, you can now start to create the building blocks and the foundation for a much more peaceful marriage. Now, of course, it goes without saying, you need two people who care enough to do that. And one person can be enough if they're very, very strong in their energy. They can start to evoke specific behavior from the other person. So it is an inside job, right? and eventually the other one can catch up to you. And if they don't, then someone will who will take their place. So thank you so much for listening. I hope to do more of these very, very soon. It's the month of love. So let me know if you have any questions. Thank you so much for watching. I've made some detailed videos up on my Patreon. If you'd like to be a patron, let me know. I mean, just go sign up. Yeah, let me know if you have any other questions, any requests for other books. I have some of my books now on sale on Etsy. I want to circulate them and keep them going, keep them moving in the world. So thank you so much for being here. I love you all, and bye-bye for now.